Welcome to the Realist Lounge. This episode we're going to be talking about the best and worst movies of 2012, as well as some other little avenues in the movie industry this year. I guess before we really get started, I kind of want to go through a couple of things just to kind of get you prepped and ready for what I'm about to tell you. So, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. The movies that are going to be listed on this podcast are movies that I have personally seen. Nothing that's like an opinion based on something I didn't watch myself, but things I actually saw. And I saw quite a few movies, so the list is going to be pretty out there. Now, and also keep in mind, before people rant, rave, or complain about something in particular, I also want to make a note of the fact that this is not necessarily me saying that these are the overall best/worst movies of the year ever. This is my opinion. So, much like it's my opinion, these are my movies, so my top 10 may not reflect your top 10 of whatever. Also, I'm going to be giving some individual awards for, what I feel was the best action movie, the best drama, the best comedy, the best indie, the best, whatever. So, let's, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off. But one quick thing I do also want to throw into, I almost forgot. I also want to let it be known that as per the rules of my best/worst of 2012, one thing I want to point out is that for the best of, I really kind of made it a no-holds-barred type of setup because, honestly, this was actually kind of a banner year for movies. I had a hard time picking which ones I wanted to include, so what I did is I kind of separated movies that I felt, and this goes just not for the best of, but for the worst of as well, movies that I saw that did not get a wide release. Those are the movies that didn't get a wide release, I kind of put on a separate list. Movies that did get wide releases are going to be on my best of, because I really don't like holding whether or not a movie was released in this many theaters versus a movie that was released in that many theaters. I hate doing that, but the truth of the matter is it's kind of unfair to put those movies up against each other, especially when you take into account how well they did. So, these are movies that not only did well box office-wise, but these are also going to be movies that I really, really enjoyed. And let's go ahead and say now there will be some movies that you'll probably be like, well, hey, where was that on your top 10? Or, hey, why is that on your top 10? But like I said, I did the same thing for the worst of, because I felt like it was unfair to take movies that did not get wide releases and put them on my worst of, because that's just not fair. Also, I thought it was incredibly unfair to put romantic comedies on my worst of. There might be one or two movies in there that might be considered romantic comedies, rom-coms, if you will. They're almost always universally bad, so I just decided that it was for the best if we just leave those off and not even talk about them. Also, because they're such easy targets, I'm leaving off the Tyler Perry stuff. Really, anything with him in it. Whether he's directing it or if he is starring in it, because he just sucks. So, that's just such an easy target. Also, I'm not going to take those really easy stabs at Adam Sandler because, let's face it, outside of maybe one movie that he's done, so like within the last year that I actually liked, everything else, his entire body of work, is just hackneyed, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say that right now. You can hate me all you want, but I'm not the hugest fan of Adam Sandler. There, that's out of the way. Another thing I also want to touch on as well is the fact that I also did some like I said, also did a separate list for movies that did not get a wide release. Also did a list for movies that did get a wide release that I felt were disappointing. So there's those as well. I mean, and not even say that they were bad. It's just that they weren't good either. Just like they were movies that like were really hyped up to be the next big thing, and I'm just like, no, you didn't deliver. So we have that as well. And another thing, I also threw in a couple extra awards for things that you, my listeners, my realist, have suggested to me. So, once again, without further ado, let's kick off the show. Starting with the best of. Number 10. Django Unchained. So, this one, I really, really, really did like this movie a lot. And I don't know if you didn't listen to the review that I did earlier in the week. I went into this movie incredibly apprehensive, prepared to hate it, prepared to literally shit all over this movie. I was ready to come into this movie and drop a deuce on every last single actor and every last single crew member and Quentin Tarantino himself, just right on their forehead. And within 15 minutes of the movie, I don't even think it was even 15 minutes, the movie just won me over and I just gave up. And I was just like, you know what, this is, wow, there's no denying this movie is good. Is it great and the best movie of all? Of course not. It's my number 10 out of, on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the best, 10 being, the not as best. So, I obviously love the movie. And it probably would have been higher on my list, except for, like in the review, I had some problems with this film. It suffered from quite a few issues that, I mean, they weren't major issues, but they were just enough to make me go, okay, this is not a perfect film. So, that being said, I will say that this is a really strong return to form for Quentin Tarantino. I really feel like, with this movie, he brought himself back to that level that I haven't seen him at since Jackie Brown and the very first Kill Bill. And it's good to see his return here. So that is my number 10. Next up at number 9 is Rise of the Guardians. And Rise of the Guardians was one of those movies that I saw a trailer for it maybe about seven or 8 months before the movie's initial release, and it was one of those movies, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, man, dude, I kind of want to see this. I normally don't get excited about some of the current crops of CGI and animated films, just because, I mean, a lot of them kind of follow, they've gotten to that point now where no one's really doing a whole lot of originality with those particular types of movies, except for a couple that I've come across this year. And I generally allow myself one animated movie to be like, oh, this is my top such and such. But I really liked the premise of it, and watching the trailer, the first thing I thought was like, dude, this is like Avengers, but with Fable type things, like the Easter Bunny and Jack Frost and Santa Claus and stuff. This is going to be awesome. I really want to see this. And then fast forward, a little bit, and I kind of forgot about the movie, and then all of a sudden it came time to go see it, and I was just, dude, the movie really touched me. And it's one of those, I was like, wow, this movie provoked emotion from me. Like, I got caught a few times. Like, I'd look at my girlfriend, and she'd be like, hey, did that movie get you? And I was like, yeah, it got me. She's like, did it get you again? And I'm like, yeah, it got me again. So, I mean, needless to say, if a movie does that, it's kind of an automatic. And I really liked what they did here. The voice cast was very good. I thought that Chris Pine did an amazing job as Jack Frost. I really like Jude Law as the antagonist, as Pitch. The characters were really good. I felt like everybody in this movie was having a really good time doing what they were doing. And once again, this is one of those where I think we're starting to see a changing of the guard as far as the animated, film genre goes, because Pixar held on to it so strong for like years, and all of a sudden all these other companies are coming along, like DreamWorks especially has been dogging at them for a long time, and DreamWorks is like, alright, look, it's been a while, you guys have been getting us on just about everything, but not this time, we're coming for you. And I really like the fact that this movie didn't use some of the easy outs that a lot of animated films do, especially DreamWorks Pictures, because it really bugged me that almost every animated film is like, oh, we gotta have a musical number at the end for the kiddies. We gotta be loud and boisterous so the kiddies stay awake. This movie actually touched on some very dark themes, heavy themes that children are used to hearing and or seeing in a film, and I really like that they didn't shy away from that, and they stuck to their guns. I really appreciate that, and the story was very endearing as well. And that's my number 9. Number 8 is one of those movies, yet again, kind of like Django. I went in this movie thinking, I'm not gonna like this. I don't like juvenile humor. I hate toilet bowl humor. I hate dick and fart jokes. And all I can think of right now is this is just going to be like Family Guy the movie. And if you haven't guessed yet, number 8 is Ted. And anybody who has been around me lately knows, or at least probably I want to say in the months leading up to this movie coming out, that I had kind of fallen away from Family Guy. Because I felt like Seth MacFarlane was just oversaturated in the media. He has, 3 shows, on network television. He has Family Guy. He has Cleveland Show. He has American Dad, which I don't watch. And it was getting to a point where, like, I felt like he was running out of gas. I felt like all of his jokes were used up. And I got away from watching those 2 shows, Family Guy and Cleveland Show, which I do thoroughly enjoy both, but I was just like, man, look, he doesn't have it for me anymore. Went in to go see Ted, and I was like, you know what, I now see why I was not enjoying Family Guy and Cleveland Show for like the last, the last couple of, seasons. Cleveland Show for the last season, Family Guy for the last 2 seasons. And that's because this guy has been saving up his best material for this movie. So, that being said, Ted was amazing. Ted literally had me in stitches laughing. Like, I walked out of the theater, my side literally cramped because I was laughing so hard. I had tears running down my face. I looked like somebody had just died. I was literally crying laughing. It was very hysterical. And another thing I want to touch on too about Ted that I really, really liked, it was the fact that, it had that same humor that Family Guy normally had, but there was a certain edge to it that was just, I don't know, it had that edge that, because Family Guy could only take it so far, and Cleveland Show could only take it so far, and Seth MacFarlane was like, look, I have the big screen that to work with, so you know what, I'm pulling out all the punches. And he did a really great job with the casting of this movie, with his own voice acting. He's a phenomenal voice actor, so that should be no surprise. But he brought Mark Wahlberg in, and Mark Wahlberg is a great straight man for any comedy movie. Like, I've always liked Mark Wahlberg when he plays the straight man, and he kind of did a little bit of both. He was kind of the funny guy too at times, depending on who he was on screen with, but for a lot of the movie, he was the straight man, and I really liked it. Mila Kunis was awesome. Hell, Giovanni Ribisi was amazing. He playing the creepiest of creepy people, probably the creepiest character Seth MacFarlane has ever written. And it just was really good, and also it was really nice seeing Flash Gordon, in the movie, just because it kind of kept in line with those Family Guy roots. It felt like a return. Like, this is yet another return to form for a particular director. I feel like Seth MacFarlane's kind of back in business. Now I want to move on to the next one. I want to talk about the number 7. I want to talk about the number 7 movie on my list. The number 7 movie on my list is none other than The Raid Redemption. Now, technically, this movie has been out for more than, I want to say before even 2012 came up. I want to say it actually cropped up in 2011. But the movie did not get a theatrical release in the States until, 2012. So, that's how it wound up on my list. This movie, when I first saw the trailer for it, which was in 2011, I was like, oh my god, I cannot wait to see this movie. I was like, man, I'm going to go and hunt down this movie on yesasia.com or playasia.com or something, because I need to find this movie. I need to watch it. And at the time, I remember the movie kind of had an absorbent price tag to it, and I was like, I'm not really going to commit myself to it like that. There was once a time where I would see an $80 movie from overseas and be like, whatever, screw it. It might be good, it might not be, but I don't have that kind of hipster blood in me anymore. So I just went ahead and said screw it, and I'm just going to hope that at some point this movie finds its way over to the States. And lo and behold, it did. And I was like, oh my god, dude, this movie is amazing. The story is kind of garbage. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way now. I mean, the story is very cookie cutter. Basically, the characters kind of wear their archetype on their sleeve. I mean, you got the no holds barred leader. You got the guy who seems like he's crooked and in all likelihood will betray you. And then you got the unlikely hero. You know, the guy who is a badass, but I mean, he's not the guy to walk around and be like, whoa, I'm a badass. He's more like I'm a badass, but I'm just going to be quiet until, some shit jumps off. And and I really like that about the movie. I mean, they really played it to its strengths. And on top of that, it had, very, very powerful villains in the movie. I mean, not just the main guy, but even his underlings. It was a very, very solid movie with action that literally made me go, ooh, man, dude, that is jacked up. Or like something where I go, man, I actually thought about, like, if I was in a fight, I would want to do that to somebody. So it really touched in a lot of places, that it need to. As far as an action movie goes, it hit the right notes and really gave you what I felt was some of the best action you could probably find in a theater in the last maybe 5 years, give or take. Maybe even longer than that. Yeah, it really sold. Now, the next movie on my list, number 6. Number 6 would have been higher, except that I did have a couple of problems with this movie that kind of held it back a little bit. And there were also 5 other movies that came out that I honestly felt were a little bit better. Number 6 is The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Now, The Hobbit, if those who saw the video review that I put up, you'll know I did not hate this movie. I loved it. So number 6 is not a bad spot on a top 10. Not only that, but I mean, I felt like this movie did suffer from a couple issues. One being the length, because those first 30, 45 minutes, it was kind of tough. It was really hard to... It took an insane level of stamina and endurance not to get up and go use the bathroom. But once you got out of the Shire, man, the movie really took off, and it really had me pumped and ready for the next movie. All the action, everything that if you grumbled through in the first 30 minutes of the movie, you were paid back in spades, with interest, with nothing but some of the best action and story and character development for this movie. So, I really feel like The Hobbit, though everybody's kind of on the fence one way or another or something on it, there's people like, oh, it's not doing Lord of the Rings business, so it's a failure. And there's other people who are like, well, I mean, I thought it was still really good. I mean, it was a good movie. And other people are like, well, I hated it because it did not stick to the books, and it added things that weren't from the book. And the only thing I have to say to those complaints is that, yes, the movie suffers from problems. No, it is not doing Lord of the Rings business, but it is doing better business than just about any other movie that's come out this year, aside from the 1 million pound gorilla that is sitting somewhere in the room that I won't talk about just yet. I mean, it's one of the higher grossing movies this year, so it's not a failure by any stretch of the imagination. One thing I will say, though, is that, I mean, for those that say that the movie deviated from the books, it really didn't deviate. I mean, the only changes I could really think of were that The Hobbit was more of a modest story in the very beginning and was really all about Bilbo, whereas in the movie they kind of tried to open it up a little bit more, give character development to other characters. Now, yes, Peter Jackson did make up some bullshit for this movie and make up bullshit characters for the saga, but a lot of that material is actually in the second and third movie. The Frodo cameo, yeah, that was a little unnecessary. The Ian Holm as Bilbo cameo, yeah, that was probably... I mean, I get that one made more sense. But still, they probably could have left that out entirely. But a lot of the material that they added is actually from the footnotes that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote. And even from the Silmarillion, which is basically the textbook of Middle-earth. So, and I honestly feel like those same people that say, oh, well, they added too much new shit, those probably would have been the same people that, had the movie been more about Bilbo and nobody else, they'd be like, well, the movie's cool, but they didn't really talk about the dwarves. Well, then that would make it more like the book. Because they don't talk about the dwarves a lot. So, you know what, I'm tired of ranting about Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and all the other crap. So, let's please move on to the next movie, since we already know The Hobbit was amazing. My number 5 movie is a movie I didn't get to see in the theater. I only saw it very recently when it came to Blu-ray. And that's Looper. Looper was one of those movies, when I originally saw the trailer for it, my exact thought was, this looks really cool. Is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt? I can't tell, or maybe he has a brother or something that's doing movies now or something like that. I don't know. But and then at the end of the trailer, they're like, "Oh, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt," and I was like, "Whoa, he looks different." yeah. Now, Looper, I really enjoyed. One of the things I really liked about it is that for a sci-fi movie based around time travel, and yes, it has some plot holes, but I love the way the movie literally grabs you by the scruff of your neck, holds you up like a little kitten that just fucked up the drapes, and says, look, we know this plot has problems. We know this movie has, the science of this movie is not even remotely plausible, but you know what? Fuck it. Sit back, enjoy this fucking movie. Literally, you get that scene in the movie, there's like, look, man, just fucking roll this shit. You're about to get an awesome ride. And I thought that was amazing. I really liked that the movie did not try to pander to the audience, to try and beg them to kowtow and just accept it. They just said, look, man, you just sit back, fucking enjoy this shit. Don't think too damn hard. And once again, I've said plenty of times in the past that I love movies that challenge the audience to think, but I also like movies that have the balls to say, look, man, don't think about this shit too hard. If a movie wears that shit on its sleeve, if it wears that mantra like on its chest, like the S that Superman wears, I go, bully to you, sir. That is good filmmaking. When it's executed properly. But one thing I did like about it was the performances. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I learned a lot about this man's acting talent. Like, I knew the man had chops. I knew the man had ability and talent. But the one thing I did not understand about Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the fact that until watching the special features, I was like, man, dude, he actually kind of has some of Bruce Willis's mannerisms down pat. And this man sat down and watched tons of Bruce Willis movies to understand how Bruce Willis makes his moves, how he emotes, how he uses his hands, as far as his social tics and social cues, his facial expressions, everything he had down to a science, and even worked with Bruce Willis, to get this right. The makeup was a little jarring, and at times would kind of be like, oh man, dude, man, I don't know how I feel about that makeup. I mean, it's really good in some parts, and it's bad in others. But otherwise, I thought Looper was an amazing film. Not to mention, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt teaming back up with Rian Johnson, who, I don't know if you guys ever seen Brick, but Brick is an amazing movie, and I felt like Looper was like Brick revisited with the same kind of like moody noir vibe, but based on a freaking sci-fi movie, and you can't ask for better than that. Now, let's get away from Looper, because I want to talk about the next movie on my list, which is the number 4. And really, at this point, numbers 4, 3, 2, and 1, they honestly, oh man, it's at this point, these movies, I feel like, it's hard for me to say which one is which. So I just kind of did them in the order that I felt was best. These movies, honestly, could all be my number 1. And number 4 is Chronicle. Chronicle is one of those movies when I saw the trailer for it, the first thing I said was, this is either going to be good, or this is going to be fan-freaking-tastic, or this is going to suck shit through a straw. There's no other way. And this movie was cropping up about the same time that, I forget the company that was trying to do this, but everybody was talking about, they're going to make an American adaptation of the Japanese, the manga and anime Akira. And, this is going to happen. And this went through all sorts of different phases where they're like, it's going to have Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Oh, well, no, it's going to have Robert Pattinson in it. Oh, they're going to give it a Twilight vibe. Oh, wait a minute, they're whitewashing the entire cast of characters. They're going to set it in America, and everybody's fanboys lashing out, killing each other in the streets and blowing up comic conventions. It was just kind of awful to watch, because you really felt like, man, they are really reaching and grasping at straws to make a franchise out of anything if they're trying to bring Akira to the stateside. I mean, the movie's amazing on its own, let it be that. Let's go ahead and put all that to bed. Your Akira movie just got made. Chronicle is the Akira movie. And it's the Akira movie without wanting or trying overly hard to be the Akira movie. Until that last, maybe 10 minutes of the movie. The final conflict scene is very, very reminiscent of Akira. But for the most part, the movie itself is trying to be its own thing. And not only that, but they were able to take something, a genre I'm not a huge fan of, which is found footage. And this is probably the first found footage movie I've seen since maybe Wreck 1 and 2 that I felt was like, man, this movie kicks ass. I mean, this movie basically tells you, okay, if you're one of 3 guys who gets superpowers from out of nowhere, how would you respond? How would you react? How would these powers change you? How would you use them? And every time I watch these 3 guys who have these powers, I was like, man, this is shit I would do. There's a part where they're in a grocery store or supermarket or something, and the little girl has a little teddy bear hovering over in a basket, chasing her around, and I was like, dude, this is shit I would do. There's a part where they use their telekinesis to yank a piece of gum out of a dude's mouth and basically makes him fly into a rack of chips and magazines or something. And I mean, it just they were using their powers like a bunch of douchebags, at first. But then you start noticing as the more comfortable they got with their powers, that's when the story started really opening up, because you had that one character who's like, all right, look, one of these guys is going to flip the fuck out. Who is it going to be? And the whole time I was thinking, all right, they're not going to take the obvious choice. I mean, they're going to surprise me. And they didn't surprise me, but I really like the way they executed it because they found a way to make this work. I still am not a huge fan of the found footage genre, but if there was any movie that renewed my faith in that type of filmmaking, Chronicle is the one. Chronicle is a very smart film. It used every tool that it had at its disposal properly. The acting was very well executed, and I was like, wow, dude, this is just this is probably the best non-comic book related superhero movie that I have ever seen, and I could not have been more happier walking out of that theater when I saw that movie. Now let's move on to number 3. Number 3 will not be any kind of major surprise. Anybody that I've talked to lately. My number 3 movie is Sinister, and Sinister is one of those horror movies, one of those few horror movies that comes around maybe every 5 or 10 years that genuinely scared the shit out of me. And not even really so much scared the shit out of me, but it achieved the goal. It creeped me out and it disturbed me. The very opening sequence, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what's up with this tree? And there's like a family of people being hung. And the tree limb, wait, is the tree limb moving by itself and elevating them? Well, what the hell is going on? And basically every time that Ethan Hawke's character finds or goes through another one of these old home movies and discovers the next family that was murdered, each time the killing was more disturbing than the one before. They kept outdoing themselves with the way that these families were being tortured and murdered. And I was just like, there was one in particular that literally ruined me for weeks. After I saw this movie, like it kept creeping back into my head. And I gotta give it to him. I mean, the bad guy looked a little goofy. He kind of looked like Kane from WWE, but I mean, still, the movie was amazing. I thought it was very, very, very well played. Another thing I really liked about it, too, is that it also had one of those few moments, like, you usually get this in a lot of horror movies, but it had one of those moments where you ever sit there and you're watching a horror flick, and you're like, man, why doesn't somebody say this? Why doesn't somebody suggest that we do that? And this was the first movie where I saw that somebody did that, and it was like, dude, that's exactly what I would have said. That's exactly what I would have done. That's exactly what I would have suggested. I mean, this movie really, it didn't rewrite the genre as far as horror movies go, but it definitely, kind of like in the way I feel about Chronicle, because horror is another one of those genres that I've been kind of disenfranchised by over the last few years, because you've had all the Paranormal Activities, and the Saw movies started turning to shit from like, hell, since the first one came out, and everybody's just kind of repeating the same tricks over and over again. And this is one of those rare movies, one of these rare horror movies that I felt like really tried to raise the bar a little bit, to try and do something different, to try and give you a different type of movie. And I put Sinister up there with movies like The Strangers and the Collector. These were just movies that literally achieved the goal of scaring the living shit out of me. Now, let's move on to my number 2. Number 2 and number 1 are the two that are the most interchangeable. I could actually flip these different ways because I walked out of both of these movies. When the credits started rolling and it was time for us to leave the theater, I literally sat there and said, man, the projection guy, he can go ahead and rewind this shit, start over again, because I want to see this again. I will totally sit here right now and see this movie again. And the number 2 movie is Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is a flick that actually, I want to say it was shot and filmed in 2008 and was actually ready to release then, but for different reasons or monetary issues, didn't get released until now, in 2012, to be for a theatrical release. And you can almost kind of partially thank Marvel for this because of the success of Thor and Chris Hemsworth, because he's actually the only major star in the movie as far as like bankable big name actors go. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of people mistakenly credit Joss Whedon as the director of this movie. He was actually the co-writer of this movie, and it really shows because a lot of his favorite actors return in this movie. People that he's worked with on Buffy, Angel, Dollhouse, Firefly. A lot of different actors and people crop up here and there. And I really liked what they did with this movie. I honestly felt like when I saw the trailer, the first thing I thought to myself was, this looks like it's going to be a really amazing movie, but I feel like they shot their wad in the trailer, and I kind of feel like they really gave away too much information in the trailer. And going into the movie, knowing what was the general idea, but not knowing exactly how they were going to pull it off, I still felt like I walked away from this movie really getting the best and most out of it. And I really enjoyed the fact that it really gave me a different perspective on the horror genre. And I don't mean like saying, oh, it deconstructed everything and explained everything. I mean, yeah, it kind of did that in some ways, but it also gave me just, I don't know, just something different. Something that wasn't the same old, over and over and over again. The same old regurgitated crap. And I don't know, it was a movie that I could tell everybody on the set was having fun. And when everybody on the set is having fun, then everybody in the audience most likely is going to be having fun. And I mean, whether or not you loved it or hated it, whether or not you got it or you didn't, or whether or not you gave a shit or not, I honestly felt like this was one of the smarter films to come out this year. I mean, just because of the fact that they really came from a very honest place with this movie, versus say something like Paranormal Activity, which hasn't been honest since day one with itself, much less the audience. I mean, they were really just trying to cash in. And Cabin in the Woods, there was nothing to be gained here. All this was just to say, hey, we made a movie, we thought this would be fun, here you go. And I honestly say, I mean, I'm not going to talk anymore about this movie because, I mean, I honestly feel like if you haven't seen this movie, it's better to go in cold and not really know anything about it. And that being said, I want to get away from this topic. So that way you can go see the movie and have a fresh perspective. Now, for the illustrious number one, you're probably wondering, whoa, what could it be? I mean, there are two major blockbuster movies that I haven't mentioned yet. Which one made my top 10? And which one is my number one? Because obviously it can only be one or the other, and neither one has been mentioned thus far. And if you're probably wondering, the guy who looks at you and probably sees me and says, oh, well, this guy, he's the huge Batman fan. It's Dark Knight Rises. Well, you're wrong. It's actually Marvel's The Avengers, the movie I thought would never get made and would probably suck if it did, but came out and literally blew me away. A lot of people who were detractors of the movie because either A, they were humongous Batman nerds and just could not let it go that Batman got outdid at the box office, much less in the eyes of critics, or they felt like they just had to hate the movie just because Disney's name was on it. I don't know. Whatever your reasons are, I really don't give a damn. This is my top 10, and this is my number one. I went in this movie, and I was just, man, I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I was very afraid, because I was like, man, please, I don't want this to suck. I don't want this to suck. And yes, I did notice every last single scientific issue, every logic issue, every fucking minute detail that everybody else likes to point out. And you know what? You want to know why The Dark Knight is not number one on my list, and Avengers is because the entire time that I was watching this movie, noticing that there were the glaring scientific and logical issues in this movie, I was having so much fun, I didn't give a fuck. I sat there and was like, oh, wait a minute, so Black Widow just picks up an alien weapon and knows how to use it, having never seen this item before, but can use it like a pro now? Whatever, I don't care, this shit's fun. Wait a minute, Hulk suddenly can control his powers now just because the plot dictates that he should? Okay, whatever, I don't give a fuck, this scene is fucking awesome. You know, I mean, these are the things I thought about. But I just did not care, because the movie did so much to keep me entertained. The movie did so much to keep me entertained that I did not care what problems the movie had. And to me, that is a show that you have great directorial skill, and that you have an amazing editing team, and that you have a cast of actors and actresses who know how to give you a stellar performance and know how to work with a great director. And that's exactly what happened. All the pieces to the puzzle were there. The build-up, which took them years to build it up, but they finally got it. I want to say it took them 5 or 6 years to get this shit set up, and they pulled it off with flying colors. And then Joss Whedon, Marvel, Disney, the entire cast of the Avengers turns and looks at DC and Warner Brothers and says, now it's your move. What do you got? And I honestly felt like they dropped the mic on that one. And appropriately so. I mean, call it what you wanna. You can hate it or love it, but Avengers, I'm sorry. Not only was the movie amazing, but even if you want to detract from that, the numbers speak for itself. Avengers is now like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Done. We're done here. and you know, I really hope that a lot of people seriously sit back and remember that not only did the Avengers pull off an amazing movie, but let's also go back and think about the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, this movie came out on May 4th, which has always kind of been a Star Wars reverential day, just because, you know, May the 4th be with you. Well, no, may the Avengers be with you as well now. Until Star Wars gets itself back on track, May 4th is now officially Avengers Day for me. And that is my top 10 best of movies of 2012. Now, for this next part here, this is, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, you could probably call it the honorable mentions section, but I kind of prefer to call this the good movies you didn't see in 2012, but you probably should have. And let's go ahead and kick this one off. I'm only gonna do a quick run through of, you know, these particular movies, because also I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about these, because, I mean, while these movies were great, there's not really a whole lot to say. I mean, these were just movies that I thought were really good, that I felt like a lot of people probably either skipped them or maybe didn't get a chance to see them. And this kind of goes back to that whole separation of wide release versus not so wide release. And I want to go ahead and kick it off with my number 10, which I saw just recently, was Haywire. Haywire, I thought, was a really good movie. It was Steven Soderbergh really showing his chops, proving to me that Channing Tatum is a good actor. Can be a good actor when pushed. And it also had some really, for lack of a better way to put it, I guess smart action. Not a lot of quick cuts, not a lot of close-ups. They weren't afraid to show you exactly what the actors were doing, which I guess to certain people would probably look boring, but I mean, I thought they did it very well. Not to mention, I think they actually found the woman who should be playing Wonder Woman now, in Gina Carano. The next movie is Resident Evil Damnation, which is one of the CG Resident Evil movies, and I must say, I mean, it was a straight to DVD and Blu-ray release, but I felt like this movie really delivered in the sense that whereas the live action Resident Evil movies always seem to fail, these at least kind of follow the video game, and you have a frame of reference, and they're cheesy and kind of in the spirit of the games themselves, but at the same time, I mean, they're just meant to be sat back, watched, and have fun. So there you go. That's my number. Resident Evil's my number 9. My number 8 is Rampart, starring Woody Harrelson. That is a movie that I really, really enjoyed because it kind of gave you that gritty, dirty, just... It took me back to The Shield. That's actually kind of what it did. It took me back to that kind of The Shield type of character where Woody Harrelson kind of plays a Vic Mackey type of character, only he's actually kind of... I don't know, in some ways Vic Mackey is more of a criminal than this guy is in Rampart, but this guy's just kind of more of a deplorable person. And I really liked it was a very good character study as far as, you know, the way that Woody Harrelson played his character, and he was a very unlikable person, but there were times where he was like, man, dude, if you could just get your shit together, you could actually be a good guy. You know, and you can tell the other actors in the movie, the way they played their characters, it was like, you know, you had Sigourney Weaver, you had Ice Cube. It was like, man, look, if you just get your shit together, dude, you could actually be an okay cop. You know, my number 7 is Arbitrage. With Richard Gere and Susan Sarandon. Arbitrage is one of those movies, I don't really do a lot of dramas, and this one was like a drama, not only just drama, but a business drama in every sense of the word, but it was kind of told on the backdrop of one of those, oh wait, I'm having an affair, and I get caught in a situation where the person I'm having an affair with gets killed, and I'm the only person, like, it's technically my fault, and I'm responsible, so I'm trying to hide that shit. And I really like the way Arbitrage played itself out. I mean, Richard Gere is in pretty much every scene in this movie, and he literally is carrying the movie on his back and shoulders. Something I haven't seen Richard Gere do in a long time, and it was kind of good to see again. It reminded me, like, man, I now see why Richard Gere was such a respected actor, because I really liked a lot of things that he's been in, you know, over the years. But this movie really, really, really did a good job. Especially with a movie where one actor is literally just the main driving force. The number 6 movie is The Grey. The Grey was one of those movies, I think a lot of people either saw it or didn't, and probably went into it seeing it because Liam Neeson had some little glass bottle, brass nut type contraption on his hand, thinking, oh, he's gonna be fighting wolves and whooping ass, and that really wasn't the case. But it was still a good movie because it was a good man versus nature movie, and it had really good character development, really good acting, and I honestly liked the twist. It wasn't really a twist, but it was just a very interesting turn of events towards the end of the movie, where you're like, oh, so this is what was going on in his head the whole time. Gotcha! This is why he's so, you know, cool, calm, and collected about everything that's going on right now. Gotcha! And I highly recommend the movie. If you're going into it thinking, oh, this is going to be another, you know, Liam Neeson is a badass movie, yeah, kind of, but not exactly Taken. Now, that being said, my next movie at number 5 is going to be Hotel Transylvania, which did get a wide release, but I think that because it was one of those movies that wasn't advertised a whole lot of people probably didn't wind up seeing it as what probably could have. And for me, I didn't even know that Adam Sandler was in this movie. Matter of fact, this movie has a lot of people in it that I'm not a fan of. It has Adam Sandler. It has Kevin James. It has frickin' Andy Samberg, Selena Gomez. You're all playing lead characters. And I just really didn't... I don't like any of these people. But, for some reason, this movie worked for me. Hotel Transylvania just really kind of did it. I mean, it was good. I mean, it did do that one thing I can't stand where they did the musical montage at the end so all the kids can get up and dance, and I was like, oh, I fucking hate when movies do this. But still, I thought it was a good film. Number 4 is Dredd, which you're probably thinking, wait a minute, you have The Raid on your top 10, and The Raid and Dredd are kind of the same movie, only one's based on a comic book and the other one's just something else, but they have very similar plots. True. Both movies were made about the same time, but Dredd is one of those movies, it would have actually been on my top 10, except for the fact that, I really couldn't make a case to put it on there when there was a movie on there that was kind of the same. So I put Dredd here, especially since a lot of people don't really know what Dredd is, so it just seemed more appropriate here. But Dredd was a very good movie. I had a lot of fun with it, and yes, it has a lot of the same, it has the same plot setup as The Raid, but on a plot level, I thought Dredd was better. On an action level, I thought The Raid was better. And Dredd was one of those movies that it was very good to see Karl Urban jumping in this role, and because he's a very good character actor, and he really took this role seriously. Unlike the original Judge Dredd movie was with Sylvester Stallone, Karl Urban actually stuck to the comics. He didn't take the helmet off, and the one time he didn't have the helmet on, you never could see his face. And I really like the way he stuck to the character, because Dredd is a one-note character. He's not meant to be funny, and at least not intentionally anyway. And I really like the way his character was played up. I liked Lena Headey as Ma, and Olivia Thirlby. I really liked her portrayal in the movie. It was a really good all-around fun movie, and I recommend it to anybody, especially if you're a fan of Judge Dredd. It's ultra violent, and it's a good movie. It's a really good solid movie. My number 3 is Safety Not Guaranteed. This one here is it's one of those moments where Mark Duplass is not necessarily behind the director's camera and the director's chair. He's actually in the movie as an actor, and it's him and Aubrey Plaza, who y'all might know from Scott Pilgrim and Parks and Rec, and they really sold me on this movie. I remember seeing the trailer for it way back, thinking like, man, this movie is probably dumb as shit. It looks like one of those hipster mumblecore, sci-fi, rom-com movie hybrids, and I really was in no way looking forward to it. But a part of me still kind of wanted to see it. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this movie blew me away. And even had a really amazing twist towards the end of the movie where you're just like, whoa, I did not see that shit coming. I kind of did, but I really didn't expect it to actually happen. But the character portrayals by Aubrey Plaza and Mark Duplass are just amazing. And it just, everybody in the movie is really, you can tell they're really giving a good go at it. They're not just trying to phone it in. And the movie was very honest and sincere. And you don't get that from a lot of movies these days. Another one I want to point out, at number 2, is Killer Joe. Killer Joe was one of the movies that I ranted and raved about to friends, because it was probably one of the best acted movies that I have seen in a long time. Matthew McConaughey is amazing. Emily Hirsch is amazing. Juno Temple is amazing. Thomas Hayden Church is amazing. Gina Gershon is amazing. Everybody that's in these are the main actors of the movie, but they all had amazing chemistry. And the scenes where they were all together, it was just so good. Everybody was chewing up the scenery, especially Matthew McConaughey. He was just sitting there like it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. He's like, all right, give me the scenes. I will steal them. It was an amazing movie. And not to mention, I'm really glad to see Matthew McConaughey kind of making, I won't say it's a comeback, because it's not like, he did have a couple of moments there where he did some shit movies, but it's good to see him on his way back up. And I like that. I really like that. My number 1, and this might be a head scratcher for some, but my number 1 is actually Premium Rush, which is Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the bike messenger trying to outdo the dirty cop played by Michael Shannon. And I really, really like this movie. I mean, it looked dumb as shit. I remember leaning over to my girlfriend when we saw a trailer for it, when we were going to go see some other movie early in the year. And I remember looking at her and going, that looks like the dumbest movie ever. I was like, oh my god, what is Joseph Gordon-Levitt thinking? What is he thinking? Is he crazy? Why did he sign on for this? And now I see why. Because this movie was smart. It was almost like a throwback to those old 80s action flicks. And it was just really fun. It was really fun. And it was great to see Michael Shannon and Joseph Gordon-Levitt have such great chemistry between each other. And I really, really thoroughly enjoyed what they were putting together as what could have been a really poorly made bike messenger action movie. They really came correct and had very witty dialogue, very strong action sequences, and just really good character development. And not even just for the two main characters, because I felt like Michael Shannon and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's characters were very well developed, but they did a pretty good job of developing the supporting cast as well, kind of giving you more insight to their characters and why they act the way they do and what it is about them. I mean, it was really a throwback, and I feel like if you are a fan of those old school 80s movies, like I am, I honestly think you could find a lot to love here. And that is my bet. That is now my movies that you, my good movies that you probably skipped but shouldn't have. So stick around. We're going to be taking a short break, and we're going to be skipping over to the part 2, where we then talk about what were the worst and the disappointing top 10s. So we'll be back, and stay tuned.